Hello friends, this is Grief speaking. Last week we looked at some more of the creepy side of YouTube based off of the best YouTubers Iceberg chart. And this week we're going to finish it up with some pretty disturbing stuff, including some entries that genuinely made my skin crawl, and the last entry which practically had me gagging, so stay tuned for that. If you enjoy my content and want to support me, consider joining my Patreon, where I'll give you a big shout out at the end of every video, along with a handwritten thank you note and a little grief sticker. Anyway, that's enough rambling from me. Let's just get to the berg.
Tier 5. Starting with Everything is Terrible. Let's kick this video off with something a little lighter. Everything is Terrible is a website and YouTube channel somewhat similar to Memory Hole. They take old VHS tapes and edit the footage into some of the strangest content I've ever seen on YouTube. For the most part, it's pretty funny as the footage itself is usually incredibly ridiculous, but there is a really creepy aspect to it as well, especially since they have a lot of videos centered on bizarre kids shows with a religious bent to it.
Your problem. This is your opportunity to grow. You just have to take your time and figure out how to do it, and do it as if we're doing it for the Lord.
This includes everything from creepy costume figures to bizarre musicals. My favorite is a strange Simpsons stage show about the 7 deadly sins. Yeah, you heard that right. I could keep going, but honestly, just go check out the channel. They post almost daily, and it's really a trip. Apparently, they get most of their material from just scouring thrift stores across America for VHS tapes, and all I can say after watching these videos, everything truly is terrible. The Wyoming Incident. The Wyoming Incident is a supposed broadcast hijacking that took place over a decade ago in Wyoming, of course. During a news segment about Mitt Romney, the broadcast is suddenly interrupted with a strange monochrome screen with the words, "We present a special presentation," as well as a series of the number 3. The screen is intercut with a series of messages starting with, "You will see such pretty things," followed by quick cuts of disembodied heads. The cycle continues with the messages, "Why do you hate? You are ill. What hides in your mind?" As the video progresses, we see the disembodied heads and faces get progressively more emotional before the regular broadcast comes back on the air. Apparently, people who watched it for an extended amount of time experienced things like vomiting, hallucinations, headaches, etc. I don't find this video particularly disturbing, but if you read the comments of the people who saw it when it first released, it freaking terrified them. I think it's because analog horror wasn't really a big thing yet, and unlike the Max Hedberg broadcast hijacking, the Wyoming incident wasn't trying to be goofy or anything. It was just straight up creepy, and it seemed like there was some weird stuff going on in Wyoming. Now's the part where I spoil all the fun. This incident never actually occurred, and the video was made essentially as a creepypasta. I know it's annoying that I have to point that out, but I know if I don't, I'm going to get comments about it, so what can you do? If it was real, however, there is one culprit hiding in plain sight who clearly would have concocted the whole thing. Mitt Romney. Big Money T. Alright, this one's going to get a lot darker, a lot quicker. Big Money T is the YouTube handle of Trent Pascal, and besides being extremely corny for a 48-year-old man, there's something much darker attached to the name. Trent uploaded a video of himself talking to the camera seemingly addressed to his kids and loved ones. The video itself is kind of cringy and more than a little off-putting. He mentions first and foremost that he's never done anything to his wife and that she's led him to this by cheating on him and putting him in a bad state of mind, followed by a lot of fake crying.
I put everything into this relationship. I have done nothing to your mom. I've never hit her. I didn't choose this. Your mom chose this. She's been cheating on me for a long time. She's been playing me for a fool. I told her not to mess with me, not to mess with my emotions. Don't play with me. I'm so sorry. I don't have better words right now.
There's some really creepy undertones, mostly the fact that he's acting like this is the last time his family will hear from him. But okay, whatever, some pathetic dude crying about his failed marriage. It's sad, but nothing too disturbing. Well, the end of the video is kind of strange as he seems to hear a noise and quickly begins to move, fumbling with the camera before stopping the recording. What makes this whole thing disturbing is that right after the recording, Trent hid in the bathroom waiting for his wife to enter, where he shoots and kills her with a shotgun. Knowing this happens right after makes the video extremely unsettling. Well, Trent was tracked down and apprehended by the police, but somehow managed to get out on bail under the condition that he wear an ankle monitor. What? Yeah, this guy's just hanging out at his mom's house after killing his wife. Eventually, he cut off the ankle monitor and fled the state, which led to months of trying to track the guy down. Finally, a year after killing his wife, the cops tracked him down to an RV park in Florida. Once the cops surrounded him, however, he took his own life. I had no idea what I was going to get with an entry named Big Money T, but it definitely wasn't this.
My hair's a mess and I look horrible.
The Magibon Stalker. In order to explain Magibon Stalker, first we should explain Magibon. In the early days of YouTube, when Smosh and Nigahiga were competing for #1, there existed a lot of strange video content that was new and experimental along with the platform itself. One creator named Magibon was a girl who made videos where she did nothing. Her video pretty much always just featured her staring at the camera and making cute faces, only ever talking to say goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Her channel blew up and got a lot of views for the time, and she even became a sort of YouTube icon in Japan. This Japanese bit is kind of confusing because Magibon isn't actually Japanese, but I guess she's just kind of a weeb because she speaks Japanese in her videos. Anyway, the creepy stuff began with a series of strange videos made by a man named Frank. No, not that Frank. Frank was a huge admirer of Magibon, and he actually managed to get the domain name magibon.com, and the site simply featured a series of bizarre and disturbing videos. The videos are in black and white and show Frank, a figure wearing a gas mask, obsessing over Magibon. In one video, he uses a projector to put Magibon onto a wall and then strokes it, and in another he has multiple laptops and screens all featuring Magibon, and probably the grossest thing is a video of Magibon being intercut with a doll that has maggots coming out of its eye. The audio also really adds to the whole thing, as you can hear a distorted voice throughout. This type of editing and really this type of video was virtually non-existent at the time, so you can see why it freaks so many people out. Turns out the whole thing was an art project, of course, and major props to the creator because, like I said, this was really well done and ahead of its time. It actually reminds me a lot of Meat Sleep. Eventually, Magibon left YouTube kind of abruptly, and a lot of people were speculating that it was the supposed stalker that got to her. In reality, Magibon just got tired of YouTube, as she said in a recent stream from 2022.
Didn't feel like doing YouTube anymore, so I stopped doing it, and people like made up all of this stuff about some like, you know, there's creepy people who do like weird videos about me and stuff, and people like latched onto this one and were like, oh, this guy like kidnapped her or something. And no, that's not true.
Blood over intent. This one is a real rabbit hole, and there are a lot of interesting elements to it, but I'll give a brief summary. Blood over intent is essentially an online cult primarily seen on YouTube where people write things down that they want to manifest onto a piece of paper and then smear their blood onto that paper. The most common thing written in these rituals is the intention to bring forth heaven on earth for the benefit of all. So yeah, it's essentially strange religious blood magic. The other weird element to it is that the members do this weird thing where they reverse videos to try and decipher secret messages. These videos can be kind of creepy. But honestly, the real disturbing aspect of this whole thing is the blood. It's just some finger pricks and cuts, but who knows where that can lead if more deranged or insane people join this cult and then take it even further. The other problem is that there have been some teens who have gotten involved in this, and I think encouraging kids to mess with blood is probably bad. Elliot Rodger. Elliot Rodger was a 22-year-old incel who went on a rampage in 2014, killing 6 people and injuring 14 near the University of California, Santa Barbara campus. He's on this list because leading up to the killings, he made a series of vlogs where he commented on how life was unfair to him. His main gripes were against women he thought treated him unfairly since, by his own measure, he was very attractive, very rich, and had a BMW. One video almost feels like a satire as he compliments himself and doesn't understand why women don't like him.
I don't know why you girls are so repulsed by me. I dress nice. I'm sophisticated. I'm magnificent. I have a nice car. A BMW.
It would be funny if the result wasn't so disturbing. In another video, he records a couple and talks about how envious he is and how he hates them.
I have to show everyone why I hate the world. Because no girl would do this with me.
He mentions that the way he's treated is unfair and that this needs to be dealt with. There's a coldness to the way he speaks and a deadness in his eyes that's really unsettling.
That's a problem that I intend to rectify. I, in all my magnificence and power.
This all culminates in a final video where he says he'll take pleasure in slaughtering women, and he plans to kill all the girls of a sorority on the campus.
I'll take great pleasure in slaughtering all of you.
He actually never managed to get into the sorority house, but that didn't stop him from killing everyone he could find nearby, and he even ran over several people before crashing his car and then shooting himself.
I don't know what you don't see in me. I'm the perfect guy.
Mr. Sleepy People. This is truly one of the most disturbing entries I've seen throughout all of my Iceberg research. Mr. Sleepy People is a YouTube channel that was noticed a few years back, and not for good reasons. This channel features videos of a man opening women's eyes while they sleep. Yeah, just that alone is already no bueno in my book. But it's multiple women, and there's sort of a consensus formed that these women are likely drugged or at the very least blackout drunk. This theory is formed because the guy is getting pretty handsy on these eyeballs, and they're not showing even the slightest reaction. The thing is, like I said, it's multiple women, and in one situation it's a girl lying next to, I'm guessing, her boyfriend. I wish it was only opening the eyelids that this guy was doing, but unfortunately it gets so much worse. I don't even want to say it, but in one video he licks this girl's eye. And I've seen a lot of messed up stuff in my time making these videos, but I was watching this between my fingers like an 8-year-old watching Chucky. This just skeeves me out so bad. Apparently the comment section on these videos was all positive, and it seems like there's a whole community around this concept of messing with women's unconscious bodies, to the point where commenters were asking for more and encouraging Mr. Sleepy People to do even more stuff to these women. So Nick Crowley did a video exposing this channel, and shortly after the channel was shut down, thank God. He also set up an email trying to help identify Mr. Sleepy People and the women in the videos to try and put a stop to the whole thing. Well, this all happened a couple years ago, and unfortunately, as far as I know, Mr. Sleepy People has never been identified, and it's a bit of a cold case. I honestly had no idea this type of community existed secretly on YouTube, and it's pretty disturbing. I would recommend watching Crowley's video, as he really does a big deep dive on it. It's a real eye-opener. Was that pun intended? Yes. Do I regret it? Yes. Let's move on, shall we? Tier 6. Let's start it off with Save Them Jesus. I think this must be referring to the Imagine Them video, which starts off seeming like a cheesy Christian video with a classic image of Jesus as worship music plays. However, as the video progresses, it becomes more and more corrupt. The music begins to distort and strange audio comes in randomly. Ultimately, Jesus becomes Kentucky Fried and is wearing sunglasses as his head starts spinning around like Regan from The Exorcist. It's one of those videos where it could either be very comical or very creepy, depending on the person, and probably depending on how religious you are. This video is part of a now defunct YouTube channel called Imagine Dim that posted a lot of weird videos in the same vein. 112 Dirtbag. 112 Dirtbag is referring to a video of an old man maniacally laughing before suddenly stopping and winking. The video is creepy enough by itself, but with a little context, it becomes a lot more disturbing, and it's all linked to the disappearance of Maura Murray. Maura was a nursing student at the University of Amherst in Massachusetts when one day she suddenly decided to ditch classes and start driving to an unknown location after taking money out of an ATM. At one point, Maura crashed into a snowbank while making a turn on Route 112 in Woodsville, New Hampshire. A bus driver asked her if she needed help, but she said she was fine and had called AAA, which was a lie. The bus driver left but informed the police. When they showed up, the car was still there, but Maura was missing along with her phone and credit cards, and that was the last time anyone ever saw her. Now let's tie this all the way back to the 112 Dirtbag video. The reason all of this is relevant is because 1. Route 112 was where Maura went missing. 2. Maura's father said in an interview that he thought some dirtbags took her. And 3. At the end of the 112 Dirtbag video, the text "Happy Anniversary" pops up. The video being uploaded on the 8th year anniversary of her disappearance. That's enough there to make people more than a little suspicious. Apparently the man in this video is just an altogether whack job, and although he deleted the channel, some people have archived the footage. The police have actually questioned him, but nothing ever came of it. Some people have just speculated that the man has an interest in missing people cases and did this as a way to get attention. So yeah, that's the essentials of 112 Dirtbag. Look at the Clown. This is a video supposedly made by the uploader for his son, Ronald Yoder Jr., who is afraid of clowns. It's meant to help remove his fear of clowns by exposure. So the video shows a series of clowns while a robotic voice simply says, "Look at the clown," repeatedly.
Look at the clown. Look at the clown.
That's already creepy, but around the halfway point of the video, there are a few instances of more disturbing imagery popping up. The general photos are just overall more eerie. For a few frames, we see a clown with a child and the words "missing child" over it. Eventually, the video congratulates you for completing the exercise and says to give your child a snack only if they didn't cry. So yeah, if you don't like clowns, this video is really going to freak you out. Otherwise, it's just kind of weird. And it gets a lot creepier if you wait till the last few seconds of the video, which repeats the phrase "look at the clown" while showing a picture of John Wayne Gacy, one of the most notorious serial killers who happened to be a clown. Golden Rebel 25. So the mapping community is a group of people who enjoy making maps and the changes that occur over time on these maps, particularly involving military action. A particular part of this community, known as the Future of Europe's, create maps for alternate timelines. So for example, a map might be showing what Europe would look like if Germany won World War II. So Golden Rebel 25 was an active member of this community. He was also open about the fact that he had leukemia, and this eventually led to his death. Well, the strangeness begins several years after Golden Rebel's death, when suddenly, and to the surprise of everyone, Golden Rebel's YouTube channel began live streaming, and even stranger is the video itself, which features a person walking around in the middle of the night, seeming increasingly paranoid. The live stream lasted almost 13 minutes and is mostly uneventful apart from a few strange things. First is the scared or anxious breathing heard throughout. There are also several points in the video where he seems to mumble some ominous things like, "I am still alive," "I'm sorry," and "it's coming." These are up to interpretation as it's hard to make out, but probably the most unsettling part of the video is when we see something move into the light for a brief second. Whatever it is moves in a really strange way, and it's also got an odd triangular shape. Okay, so what's going on here? Golden Rebel dies and then suddenly starts live streaming years later in a panic. Well, it turns out that this isn't Golden Rebel 25. Golden Rebel never actually died because Golden Rebel doesn't exist. Apparently a mapper going by the moniker the One-Legged Fascist, or Tolf, made Golden Rebel as an alternate account and faked its death, then made this live stream. I suppose just to shock people. Overall, I'm glad that this wasn't an actual person that died, but I do feel bad for the people who were followers and friends of Golden Rebel who mourned the loss of him. It's still kind of unclear with all this explanation what was up with the video, and more particularly, what was the object or creature that appeared in it. Sounds from Hell. The Sounds from Hell is a classic YouTube video that claims to play an actual recording from hell. The idea is that some researchers were digging really deep into the Earth's crust when suddenly they broke into what seemed to be a large hollow space. Within this space, temperatures rose to 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit, and the researchers, I guess out of curiosity, lowered a microphone into the hole where they recorded this audio. It sounds like a large amount of people screaming in agony. Now, although I'm a skeptic, I usually try to be charitable to these types of videos and just have fun with it, even when they're faked or have already been explained. But I'm sorry, this one's just lame. It's so ridiculous on every level of analysis that I just can't take it seriously at all. Obviously, the story's bullpucky, and the audio was taken from the soundtrack of the 1972 horror film Baron Blood and looped. Control. Control is a creepy video that caught traction back in the day. It's simply a dark screen, but if you squint, you can see what looks like a humanoid body flailing its arms around. Jarring music, if you want to call it music, plays in the background as this happens, and eventually a strange 16-bit face appears and moves closer to the screen. The video by itself is pretty creepy if you stumble upon it in the middle of the night, and I guess it's part of a fairly convoluted ARG. Boots 666. At one point there was a YouTube channel called These Boots Are Made for Crushing, in which the user would wear heavy boots and stomp on inanimate objects such as fruit. Weird, but innocent. Well, the same user had a separate channel called Boots 666, where he did the exact same thing, but to small animals. Yeah, the dude would stomp on everything from snails to toads. Pretty disgusting, and worst of all, it seems that these videos were made for people who have a crushing fetish, which has unfortunately become a thing. Pretty gross, but luckily YouTube caught wind of this and removed both channels. Hi Walter, I got a new girlfriend today. This video starts off seemingly normal. A man makes a vlog explaining to someone named Walter that he got a new girlfriend today. Apparently he met her at the mall, and he rambles for a bit before declaring he's going to show her off on camera, and well, you can just watch the video.
I know she hates cameras, Walter, but I'm gonna show you her anyway. You ready?
Yeah, so it turns out his girlfriend is someone he kidnapped and is keeping tied up in a room. It's really the ending here that makes this so effective, mostly due to the girl's scream at the end that sounds pretty real. As usual, when this first came out, people thought it might be real and freaked out, which I get because of the ending, but what makes the whole thing way less believable to me is the dude's acting at the beginning. It's not all that great, which is funny because the girl's acting at the end is pretty amazing. Anyway, maybe I'm being too harsh. Let's move to tier 7. Tier 7, starting with She's Still Sleeping. She's Still Sleeping is more sad than anything. It's a video posted by Timothy Birmingham, a YouTube vlogger who makes slice of life, down-to-earth content, sometimes featuring his wife. In one video, Timothy woke up and began vlogging, mentioning that his wife was still sleeping. After a while of her not waking up, he mentions that she doesn't usually sleep in this long, but must be really tired, so he leaves her be.
Not used to seeing her sleep in. Usually she's up and being on her computer or doing something, but she must be tired. Must be tired.
Well, it turns out she wasn't sleeping. She actually had died in her sleep, unbeknownst to Timothy. It's a disturbing video because we do see her lifeless body laying in the bed, but like I said, it's more heartbreaking than anything because you can tell Timothy really loved his wife, and the idea that he thinks she's just sleeping in while she had actually already died is pretty hard to watch. Grave robbing for morons. This is one of those videos that is not explicitly shocking, but the subject matter is very disturbing. The video features a young adult or teen boy named Anthony who explains in detail the process in which he robbed 2 graves, even displaying a skull from one of the corpses. What makes this video stand out is that it appears to be a VHS tape from the 80s or 90s and comes off incredibly real. This is mostly due to Anthony, who seems very genuine. He has a stutter and makes strange eye movements that just seem very authentic.
So when you bring out the jar, so I'll show you later. I'm in the real confident self. It's hard to find, okay? And
I've seen several people attempt to debunk this video, but none that completely convinced me it's fake. The main clue we have is that some experts have pointed out that the skull seems fake for a few different reasons and is more likely an anatomical replica. That to me is maybe the most compelling, but honestly, other than that, this just seems pretty real, which is why it's so unsettling. If it is fake, shout out to Anthony for a truly great acting performance. 1444. 1444 is a now infamous video that was uploaded to YouTube in 2019. I won't be showing the footage in any capacity, but it essentially features a man ending his own life on camera using a rifle. The video stayed on YouTube for 3 days before it was taken down. Anyone who watched the clip was supposedly cursed. There's not much more to say about this one, but it is crazy what will make its way onto YouTube and how long it'll stay up. Monkey hate. Oh boy. Monkey hate is one of those entries that makes my faith in humanity falter a little. But over the last few years, people have noticed a seemingly growing community of people who like watching monkeys be tortured and or killed. What's worse about this is that this was all being seen openly on YouTube. While the more extreme videos of humans killing or brutally torturing monkeys are often taken down from YouTube, there are still tons of videos of monkeys being eaten or tortured in the wild, as well as suffering horrible injuries, and a lot of times these sick monkey haters collect these videos into playlists that you can find pretty easily. One of the ways they get away with this is by naming the videos in a way that seems empathetic as opposed to malicious, like baby monkey got bitten on his head, or baby monkey cried for its dead mother, poor baby monkey. Something about this false sense of empathy is pretty disturbing. There are also a ton of videos of people just messing with monkeys, not outright injuring them, but teasing them with food or tying them to a cage just to see how they'll react. A few big YouTubers like Turkey Tom have done some deep dives on this, including looking into the type of people who watch these channels, where he found that a lot of them were just everyday people, everything from grandmothers to military men. The thing that's strange is that as of the time of this video, there are still dozens of videos and playlists from the monkey hate community, and YouTube hasn't really done much about it. ROROCHAN's final live stream. ROROCHAN 1999 was a 13-year-old Japanese live streamer who began streaming in 2013. Her videos mostly consisted of her playing piano or singing and also interacting with viewers. Some have said that occasionally she would do bizarre and risky things like run across traffic or climb tall buildings, as well as just being a little weird, like wearing a paper mask at times, which I think is cool because masks are cool. Anyway, it was on November 13 she recorded her final live stream. She climbed to the top of her 13th-floor apartment building and questioned whether she should jump off. Much like the monkey hate, my faith in humanity dims a little here because a lot of her livestream audience encouraged her to do it, saying she could become a legend by doing so. Shout out to the people that were urging her not to, who were unfortunately the minority of commenters. Well, if you hadn't guessed, ROROCHAN tragically does jump. It's unclear exactly why ROROCHAN did this, and there are people who have done some incredible deep dives on it trying to find clues and motivations, but it does seem like she was pretty troubled. Although ROROCHAN's streams have been deleted, there are several streams that have been archived and re-uploaded. They're mostly insignificant, but there are a few unsettling things, like one where, while wearing the bag on her head, she begins convulsing violently and whispering something. It's pretty creepy, I gotta say. Robert Helpman, or Daisy Leaves. Robert Helpman is a strange YouTube channel that popped up a while back. The channel features an assortment of videos, all featuring what appears to be a dead body. The uploader refers to the body as Daisy and acts as if Daisy is alive. Each video is Daisy participating in a different activity, like Daisy feeds the birds, Daisy plays hide and seek, Daisy takes a tumble, and so on. These are incredibly eerie, although there typically isn't much to each video. They're always less than a minute long and just show the lifeless body of Daisy. However, there is another person that's introduced who is presumably Daisy's killer. A large man in a mask interacts with Daisy every so often, including a video where Daisy is hanging from the back of a door and the man repeatedly stabs her, even though she's already dead. These videos all culminate in a video titled Daisy Leaves. It shows Daisy lying by the front door of the house, then suddenly vanishing with the door wide open. We then see the presumed killer enraged and sad at the fact that Daisy left. The description on the video reads, "No, no, 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 no. She left us and now there is no Daisy, no Daisy, 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 Daisy. We want Daisy back. Bring Daisy back. We need her here. She should be here. Always here." Overall, the channel is worth a watch through and is very unsettling without the use of jump scares or being overly convoluted. There are some interesting things you can find within the videos, like pieces to a classic poem called Old Women All Skin and Bones, about an old woman who asks a priest about what her corpse might look like, and the priest telling her she'll find out soon enough. There's also several videos with audio played in reverse, usually from Christmas-themed media.
For it's something I'd really be sorry to miss. I have to go down all these sooty old places to bring gifts to the children and smiles to their...
This led to a theory that Daisy represents Christmas. Yeah, there are 12 videos on the channel lining up with the 12 days of Christmas, and the descriptions on the videos talk about how excited everyone is to see Daisy and how sad they are that Daisy leaves. It may be a stretch, but I actually think it's pretty compelling. All right, let's wrap it up with maybe the most disgusting entry in all of the Iceberg. So I just want to give a fair warning. This one is really gross. It's not gory or anything like that, but it is just really disgusting. So there's the warning for that. Cooking with HUCK BOTKO. I mentioned grave robbing for morons earlier, and that video was actually part of a collection known as Ensuring Your Place in Hell 2, which also featured 3 other videos. One, Mortuary of the Dead, is a video supposedly made by a mortician who showcases several dead bodies. Next is Exploding Varmints, which is exactly what the title says, and last is Cooking with HUCK BOTKO. HUCK BOTKO might be the most creative of the bunch, and it's also the only one that sort of has a narrative. It's a documentary following a man named HUCK BOTKO who gets revenge on his family by making them food which has been, well, let's just say contaminated. It starts with Huck explaining that he's going to make a fruitcake for his father, who he hates, although he doesn't explain why. Once he gets all the ingredients into a pot, he then walks around the city paying strangers $3 to spit into the pot. It's pretty disgusting watching these strangers hawk loogies into the batter like that. He even has Santa Claus do it. So Christmas comes, he gives the cake to his dad, and his dad proceeds to eat it. Shortly after eating it, the dad starts complaining of feeling nauseous, and this poor dad is so sweet, he pretends that it has nothing to do with the cake.
I'm sure it was a hamburger. It's a little nauseous, but I'm sure it was maybe from the hamburger that I cooked.
Not from the fruitcake?
No, not the fruitcake. Fruitcake is good for you.
And if you think that's the whole video, let me tell you, we're just getting started. Huck's recipes get so bad that the spit fruitcake seems like nothing. Next, he explains that he hates his mom because she left the family when he was young and moved to Yellowstone Park. He goes to visit her and decides to make her a cake. Of course, this isn't a normal cake. It's filled with bits of roadkill, including maggots. Absolutely revolting. And the mom actually seems to enjoy it.
Oh. It's pretty good, actually.
Next, we meet Huck's sister, who, of course, he hates because her life is better than his and he's envious. So he makes her a cheesecake. But at this point, we know this isn't an ordinary cheesecake. He takes the cake to a strange location filled with people who apparently have blood diseases like hepatitis B.
I get sweaty and like nauseous and dizzy, and I just feel really tired all the time. I have these weird spots that I don't really know what they are yet.
But they're from hepatitis B?
I think so, yeah.
The people proceed to draw their blood and put it onto the cake. When he takes the cake to the sister's party, we can actually see the blood dried on top of it. His sister eats it and even remarks about the red dye on it.
Pie's so good, I can't tell what does the red dye taste like.
The worst part about this one is that everyone at this party, including a child, eats the cake. I mean, what the hell? Next, Huck talks to a therapist, which might be the only good thing he does in this entire thing. The therapist obviously seems disturbed and warns Huck not to go through with the idea he has for his brother. He explains how he wants to get revenge on his brother because of the terrible things he did to him. This is the only case so far where we got something close to a good reason for revenge, because apparently his brother tied him up and abused him when he was a child.
Hog-tied me, hands and feet behind my back.
We then see Huck's brother about to dig into a pie for his birthday when we get the classic "one day earlier" text on the screen. Now, this is where things get so unhinged that it's almost comical. Huck pays male adult actors to shoot their seed onto the pie. I'm kind of at a loss for words on this one. So when he feeds the pie to his family, the sister even comments that the crust tastes a little salty.
The crust is a little salty.
The what?
The crust has a little salt in it.
My God. Okay, let's move on to the last dish, which is made for someone named Julie. We see two men explaining to the camera how much they hate Julie. One of the guys says he has a venereal disease and wants to sleep with Julie to give it to her. Cut to, the guys are at Julie's apartment claiming they're just filming a documentary, which I guess is kind of true. The VD guy attempts to put the moves on Julie, and when he's refused several times, he proceeds to pee in her shampoo bottle, rub her toothbrush up his ass crack, put pubes on her soap, and pour semen into her cat food. Nice. So that's how Cooking with HUCK BOTKO ends, and honestly the whole thing is believable and disturbing. I would love to leave it there, but this documentary is actually staged. Or at least half staged. While Huck did make these disgusting dishes, the desserts he gave to his family were separately made foods that didn't have any of the disgusting stuff in it, which does remove the disturbing element from the whole thing. But that doesn't make it any less disgusting and gag-worthy. The spit, roadkill, maggots, blood, and man juice, that was all real, and I think the reactions are so genuine from their family because he just filmed them in their honest reactions to the normal food. In this way, the whole thing is kind of genius because everything is real, and it only took one element of deception, the fact that he fed them the disgusting stuff, to make it absolutely revolting. HUCK BOTKO, by the way, has since become a big writer and producer and even directed films like The Last Exorcism.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you guys. That last one really grossed me out. Thanks for traveling down this iceberg with me. I'm working on some pretty cool content right now, so stay tuned for that. Big shout out to my patrons, Naomi Romero, Soma, Krusty the Crab, One Group, Ali Morgan, Laz, Malediction, and Fatima. You guys are awesome. If you want a shout out like that at the end of every video, along with some bonus content and a grief sticker, consider joining my Patreon. But as always, I appreciate you watching at all, so thank you. This is Grief speaking. Goodbye, friends.
Father, do you believe in ghosts?
Oh no, not in the human kind of ghost. No, not at all. But look up, my boy, and see a sky full of